in my experience, look, I've been through construction products, I've been through energy, I've been through aerospace, and it's the same pattern on how to get things to scale.
Mhm.
It's always a movement because it starts with just a few visionaries finally getting the language together so early adopters can look at it and say, you know what, I can see myself there. I
Yeah.
can see a better version of me in my business if I could get there. And it takes a whole lot of work on how do we get the behavior change, which means there's a whole lot of information exchange that has to happen at the individual human level
Mhm.
so that they can say, oh, if I would have done it this way, I could have done it better than what happened when I did it. I'm going to
You
try
say
this way
that
now.
you say that so cavalier, like that's such an easy thing to do. That has been
Oh,
the
it's
biggest
awful. Well,
push.
but how many, that's why there's only so many pro tennis players or pro athletes or pro musicians. I mean,
Mhm.
to read and work and craft yourself to be that good takes a huge amount of effort.
Yeah.
And the best we can do is make the effort fun, right? By giving better approaches or better tools to get there.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the goal.
Today on the podcast, we are going to have not only our co-founder, but also our mentor, Mark Jacobs, who has been a part of our company since it started. So we've been kind of mentoring us and guiding us through this for the last 4 years. We're going to talk about the history of kind of how Mark got here and what he's done before, and industries he's helped turn around. He is a wealth of knowledge and has been a very instrumental player in helping us understand how to help industries turn directions. And I think that is more important right now than ever. And that just doesn't just mean, changing the way that a service advisor checks in a customer. We're talking about all the way down from the manufacturer level all the way through to the customer ownership experience and back again. And so that's requires everybody participating in that process. And so that has been a reason why we do the podcast. It's been a reason for the strategy of research that we do. He's been a really integral part in making sure all this stuff happens and helping us kind of guide through it all. So this podcast episode might feel a little bit different because we meet all the time. So this is a very, very casual, normal conversation that we're usually having about where things are going and how we can help them get there. So it's nice to kind of show everybody behind the curtain of what we at Ownex are talking about and trying to get our industry to do. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. Please make sure that you like and subscribe, share this one if it really speaks to you. And if you've got any suggestions on who should be on our next podcast or who we should be speaking with, maybe some ideas of things we should try inside of the Dealer Lab, please let us know at dealerlab@ownex.io. Now, on to the show, and I hope you enjoy it. This episode's going to feel very different because we talk like 3 times a week, at least. And that has been for 4 years. We talk 3 times a week. And that's only because you're not physically in the office with us. But quick intro, Mark Jacobs is on our podcast today, the famous clothing designer.
No, edit.
You can't edit
I'm
right
not even
away.
taking that one out. No, so Mark Jacobs is one of our partners, and I'll explain how I met you later, but you kick it off. Well, hello, Mark.
One of the founders from the beginning.
Yeah. Very,
Yeah,
very
what
beginning
was the
founder.
name of that restaurant we sat downstairs in? It was at
Was it at the Virgin?
Yeah, we were at the
yes, at the
Virgin.
Virgin.
What's the name
Right.
of
And
that?
Oh, I
we
I
said,
thought
you
that
know
was a
what?
Sizzler.
Yeah,
It was a Hooters, Mark. You're thinking of the Hooters.
Yeah,
Hooters,
well,
Mark.
actually, it was closed, so we snuck in.
Yeah, we remember breaking that window.
Right. Yeah, no, so we sat there and we said, the industry is just begging for a better way to operate itself, and we had just been through what I thought was an amazing experience. We called it Inkwell, where we had Mark McAllister. Justin, you were there. We had a couple of folks from the industry, and we also had somebody who was interested in speaking to how we maybe could run the finances of the dealership differently. And we started building this mind map. And, as you know, and maybe the audience doesn't know, but my background is in scaling businesses. And when I saw us put this mind map together, I looked at it and I said, this is just the natural evolution to move this industry from where it is to where it could be full of really successful operators, and drawing more audience into the business. And Max and Danny did a great job of expressing their ability to lead a movement, and Justin had the energy behind us, keeping us, he was our straight man, if you will, keeping us real. And I just felt like it was the perfect team to start a movement. And here we are 4 years later, and movements take a while. And I think we're a little ahead of schedule. We're doing great.
Yeah.
Good, but nobody's ever described Justin as straight, so that's odd.
I mean, fair, but like, a lot of
I think I spelled it
misconceptions.
differently. I spelled it without STRATE, straight.
Oh, okay.
Justin
that's a term.
spells it with
Yeah.
Justin spells it with the number 8 at the end.
Yeah.
STR8.
I mean, I let autocorrect spell most of my stuff. By the way, if anybody ever gets a real weird message from me, it's Zuck, dude, not me.
It wasn't you.
Zuckerberg.
It was absolutely. All right. So Mark, I'm glad you brought up that Inkwell thing. That was we did 2 of them. We want to do another one. I think we have to do another one sometime soon. And we've come so far in the last 4 years of identifying what it is that is holding dealerships back from operating optimally, and then like identifying, like, if we could just wipe this slate clean and start from scratch, what does it look like? When we had our very first Inkwell meeting, and as an aside, Inkwell was the name because it was this idea that we would all just show up and just kind of like spill our ideas on the table and then reinterpret what that looked like from everybody else's perspective. Did you
That's
not
why
know
you
that?
named it that? Well, no, I thought it was because we were dipping in each other's sauce.
Yes, now
This
I'm
and
now I'm
this is
remembering
how
it.
and
That's
this is
it.
how the Inkwell meeting went.
Now I'm
I mean,
remembering, Justin.
like you take a little bit and dip, 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 and then you take a little bit over here and you dip, 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 and then you write it down, right?
That we
Justin,
also
you were
did
finger
that.
painting. You
Yeah.
just put your hands in it and then went like this.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how I write.
Justin's
I mean,
right. I remember Max saying that. Max did say that was
Yeah.
exactly why he called it Inkwell.
Yeah, he was standing up in front of everybody at the Sizzler. I remember that. Anyway,
the idea was, I mean, it was like from the very beginning, the idea of inviting all these manufacturers and dealer groups and like all these vendors, like all to come together and to tell them like, okay, we don't actually have a written agenda. We don't have like a plan. It is quite literally, we're getting smart people together in a room and we're going to pose big questions of like, okay, where's the industry got to go? What is the hurdle that's holding it back? What are we going to do next? And so that, I think the name of it really helped explain there is a plan. There's a thing we're going to do. We just don't know how to do it. We just know that like where we are now isn't right. So we're going to go there.
Well, Max, I think one of the things that made that really successful is everybody came with their best thinking already done.
Mhm.
And the idea was to come out with better thinking. And it was really, there was a lot of energy in the room. But as I reflect back on a couple of the participants, and I'm really great with names, so I'll just call everybody Bill.
Everybody was Bill.
Inside joke.
It's an outside joke now.
When we reflect back on who the participants were, well, one was a manufacturer, and it was a manufacturer of a new product, basically.
Mhm.
And look at the journey he's now been on.
Yeah.
One of the participants was a very large series of dealers in the marine business, and all of the ideas that they brought, that's not where they went because they got purchased by a private equity firm. And I have no idea how successful or unsuccessful they're being. But when they started talking about how they were going to do things, they were using technologies that we in our firm had stopped using 5 or 6 years ago at that time. Right now, it's almost 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And so they were adopting these things because we could see learning models coming along. We knew how to build and execute on algorithms. And we understood that the behaviors in the dealerships needed to change. And that is not the direction they've gone.
Yeah.
They've gone back to traditional, more like a Six Sigma. How do you put process in place? And those processes are really heavy and nobody likes them anyway. So, and that what's so disappointing is that individual could see a different way of doing it, but yet when their business got transferred to new ownership, they dropped back to whatever it took to just
Yep.
support ownership's vision of the world. And I don't think that that's helping the dealership network be more successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we took off and everybody agreed that, look, it's all about the value of our most enthusiastic customers. And we went down the line of how do we define that? And what do we learn from those customers? We did a couple of deep research projects. We came back with information that could the dealership follow what we were talking about, they would be able to, not only from the business perspective, which you built something that gave them performance indicators that they needed to live to, behavioral indicators that they should try to achieve, and processes for teaching the behaviors that would get us these. And all in the idea of getting the most valuable customers, right? Because all of that pointed to creating the most valuable customers. And think of the dealers that when we went through that, they could stick only on, oh, okay, here's my metrics.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was like,
That was exactly what happened. Yeah. It was
we were
I mean,
babbling.
what's interesting about that Inkwell meeting, you're right. We got the most progressive thinkers of not just like my Rolodex, but like the most progressive thinkers of the organizations that they're in. And man, that drove some really incredible conversations. And a good portion of the group did some cool stuff with it. We did some really cool stuff with it and have continued to do it for years. And then some of them, like the one we're talking about right now, got back to the office, explained the vision, explained what was going on, got some traction in it, but ultimately it came back to like, okay, so do we go after building consumer value, individual customer value through this like forward-looking progressive strategy, or do we spend all of our money building a rearward-looking tool that tells us what we did last week? And that's what they did. And they said, let's look in the rearview mirror to determine if we're going in the right direction. And they are still around. They're still doing their thing. We have not looked at their finances in a while. But I feel like that's common.
I would say we should probably say like where we envisioned going, like what is the difference? What did we see the change that needed to happen? And I think that from the Inkwell meeting, we determined we need to do research. And that research was we want to see how it would affect the industry if we started looking at customers' transactional history and where they're going and seeing rhythms and patterns and cycles rather than looking at a dealership's health strictly based off of a P&L. Not to say that we're not looking at P&Ls and balance sheets and everything, but we're going beyond that, and we're looking at the customer themselves.
Yeah.
And
it's funny. It's like, I think of it like if you're out hunting and you're only looking at tracks, like, yeah, you're going to know a lot about the animal. You're going to know a lot about where you're going. You're going to know a lot about the direction it's going in. You know when it pooped last. We know all those great things. We know what it ate. But like, if you never look up and try and like look at the animal, like it's still not like you're close. You just didn't do it. And so our concept was, yes, tracking the animal is important. Looking at the P&L, looking at all that, it's absolutely the right thing to do. But you got to pick your head up and recognize that, like, oh, there's the deer. Like,
no, actually, I'm going to put it to hunting moose. There's the moose, and now you're the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
so they're hunting you.
Right?
Is that how moose work? Meese?
Yeah,
You
didn't know that?
They're too close to them, I mean, I'm not a moose hunter. I've gone out with a camera, but you get too close, they see you. They are not afraid to protect themselves.
I did not know that.
Right?
I should be so scared of. Actually, the only time I've seen a moose in real life was by your house on Main Street. What's the name of Main Street there? Is it Main Street?
Yeah, it's whatever. 287.
I just gotta say that the people,
A
this
block
is
away from you.
why, and I
Shit, the
don't
moose,
mean this.
that they come out of the woods and they'll come down to the street that we live on. If the dog's out, they'll stop and look at the dog. If I'm sitting in the kitchen, maybe having a cup of coffee and it's kind of dark out and they can see in the light, they just kind of look inside and it's like,
You just have like a big moose.
wow.
Here's it. This is a statistic we should research as Ownex. I would assume that a very high percentage of people who get yeeted by elk, bison, or moose are from the south, whereas a very high percentage of people get eaten by alligators or bit by snakes are from the not south, from like
Yeah,
the west, right?
that makes
It's
sense.
Well,
like
Justin, and then we'll get back to this. What we say is when the folks from the South come and they wear their bear bells, we tell them um, grizzly bear poop typically has berries and bear bells in it.
yeah,
Eaten by people with
that's
bells.
funny.
All right, so
You know, in the Inkwell thing, just I want to throw this out there that the thing that was most profound for me was how many different industries we had covered in that meeting
Mhm.
and how they all had the exact same problem. And I
Yep.
think
Right.
that's cool because we keep talking about industry and the people watching this are in our industry. But this is like they're it's the same. We classify it, it was adventure customers or something like that. It was something to do with like
Yeah.
basically if you're selling an experience of some kind that wasn't like a necessity,
I think
but
I think the word you're
it
looking for was adult toys. We're in the adult toy industry. Is that what it
No,
was?
no,
no,
we
that
really
was a
stood.
different meeting. That was
Yeah,
later.
we sat there and said, that the category we are really in, and we could, and the best dealers could lead is truly the adventure
Yeah.
category. And what does that look like? How do you give the customer a better version of themselves, knowing that at the end of the day, it's adventure that they're working at? And then we did the hero's journey work,
Mhm.
and we looked at, why people migrate into or discover the power sports business. And over again, it kept coming back to a sense of self where I'm adventurous, not um,
Well,
and I'm pushing the boundaries of what I think that I can achieve.
yeah.
Yeah, for
They're
sure. But Mark,
creating
we
a
we also had he didn't actually end up coming to the meeting, but we had a restaurateur in there, and he we had talked to him outside of that meeting, and all the same problems,
Mhm.
exact same in a very different conversation of finances and where like you could make direct correlation between inventory of units and inventory of cucumbers. Like it was the same but in the same problem, just in a different word set. And it was really crazy because like we were saying food was adventure as well. But that's why it was marine, power sport, it was motorcycle, it was automotive,
Yeah, it's
it was
expendable income. It's
bicycle. It was yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
there's so many different things that this translates to that
Well,
was really eye opening to me.
yeah,
Well, and
it's like
I think what began to resonate as we got into the second day was that we were no longer the industry had, if we could put three words around it, had always spoken to in the 20 groups and so forth. The whole idea is the theory behind better, cheaper, faster.
Mhm.
And what we said is no, that it's got to be all action and behaviors based on how are you different and what does it mean to be different, which is why the loyal customer research was so important because it gave us deep insight into why people what they see in themselves that gave us the guideways to make things different. And then a year ago, we started recognizing that all of this data information comes down to how do we help people change behaviors
Yep.
and explaining the ELV, going down, do deep research into the dealership, pulling the KPIs and setting up for what the path should be in achieving these all came down to, and how do we behave differently? And I think that's where we came into, we're going to have to do things that give people the ability to measure or get insight faster. So it's all about the experience of the employees in the dealership being
Yep.
better
Yep.
so that the experience for the customers can be outstanding.
Yeah.
And that's where we started looking at how do we get this information processed more rapidly. And our timing was wonderful because learning models were there saying, begging for us to put the information in and then to code faster. Now we can't scale that code, but boy, we sure can get down to quickly what would it take if these are the issues in the dealership, what would make it fun, gamify it to get these issues resolved,
Yep.
and how can we do it quickly without being as expensive as the DMSs? And I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but we look at it and we go, all of the technology in the dealership is way too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
What
delivers
do
an
we do to
experience that
bring
isn't
it all
ideal.
down?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Delivers an experience that's
And
not
here we
ideal
are.
for the employee, like you just said. Like, how do you make their life easier and more enjoyable and smoother and less administrative so they can give a better experience?
Well, and also just match their responsibility to the available pay
Yep.
at this
Yeah,
point, right?
exactly.
Also, real quick, Mark, when you keep saying learning model, you mean like super attractive people who are still in school?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I like Samantha.
Okay.
Exactly.
I don't sit in all the technical meetings, so I'm not 100% sure.
Actually, okay. So I want to get. I know we're talking cutting edge of what when we say learning models. It's not who Justin tries to woo. We're talking about large language models and AI and the use of AI inside of stores. And I want to get there because I think that we could talk about that the rest of this entire episode, the whole day we could spend on that. But I want to go backwards just a little bit back to moose or meese, however you say mooses, because I want to get back just really quickly to the introduction of how we met you and how you came into this fold and how the experiences that you had prior to us meeting kind of lay all that out. So I'm gonna tell the story real quick if that's okay, because I've told the story to a couple people and it's pretty insane. Mark lives in Virginia City, Montana, which is literally a ghost town. It is. How many people live there year round?
In the winter, maybe we have 150, 200.
Yeah.
In the summer, because we have all the tourists, we maybe have 500
Yeah. So
at any one night.
some really good friends of some like family friends of ours lived in Montana for a little while during COVID. You know, they were like the people who you guys probably, Montanans don't like because they flew up there for COVID and screwed everything up. But they lived out there for a little while, and they wanted to get married specifically in Virginia City. And so our whole friend group all flew into Virginia City, and we picked a handful of my wife and a couple of our friends picked this really cute little cabin in the backyard of this beautiful house that was right off of Main Street. And we get there, we get all checked in. I hope she's not watching, but our alcoholic friend was already there before, and she is a train wreck. I think she was already making friends. I mean, she's the most friendly person you'll ever meet in your entire life. She's already there making friends with Pat, Mark's wife, and talking to Mark, and like they're hitting it off. So I get there, I'm like, oh gosh, sorry you guys met her first, but everybody was having a great time. Anyway, we're in the back of this cabin, and of course, I'm kind of giving away the punchline here, but Mark obviously lived in the house. This was his cabin. The Airbnb is he and Pat's. And anyway, so one day actually in that first day, I'm like hanging out in the backyard, just like taking in how beautiful this area is, and Mark walks out and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm the guy who owns this place." I'm like, "I'm the guy staying in this place. Nice to meet you." And we're going back and forth, and we like clearly like just immediately click. We start talking and sharing ideas and what's going on. And he's like, "What do you do?" Like, I was like, "Oh, I'm a consultant in the powersports industry, and I work with dealers and manufacturers and help them kind of understand where stuff's going." And I'm like, "What about you?" And he goes, "I do the same thing. I work with just different industries. I got hired in by industries to do that same thing." And so we're talking more and more. And I could see like both of us are like light bulb moments, like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. Fast forward to like one of our final days there. We're about to leave. And I see Mark the night before we're going to start packing up and going. And he's like, "Hey, how about tomorrow morning? Come over to my house. We'll have coffee." And I'm like, "All right, sweet." So I go over to his house. We're having coffee in the morning, and he starts kind of sharing with me that he had just landed a contract with I'm not going to say the name, but one of the biggest parts distributors in the power sports industry. And he was like, I need a subject matter expert. So I was like, hell yes, I'm going to do this. This is awesome. And so, anyway, that started. That's how we met our, I was already working with Danny. I've known Justin my entire life. So like, we're all kind of part of this whole thing. Mark now comes into the fold, and then we go do our this first like joint thing, trying to help not just a dealership, but like ultimately it started what our mission has become is helping the entire industry shift, not just the dealership, but like the OEMs and the vendors, and everybody has to see the vision and start moving in that direction. So when we stepped in with the that parts distributor, I guess we can say who it was. I don't know.
Well, that's how we met Mark. Mark was
Exactly.
leading
Yeah.
that. And we
So,
sat in his conference room and we said, based on the experience we've had, we kind of gave him the lowdown on who he had as superstars and who probably needed to be uh, pushed in a direction outside of that business.
yeah. So that's Mark
And
McAllister, who's got another podcast
right.
too. That one, go watch the Mark McAllister podcast as well to get kind of a sense for that. But it was like all this stuff, all these people were just kind of like falling perfectly in place, and every single one of us were thinking the same way. Like this is the direction the entire industry has to go. And suddenly we had, me, Danny, and Justin have been in the dealership space for so long. Now we've got a vendor space guy who's also worked in manufacturers on the OEM side. And then we've got you who have done this for industries your entire career. So like this idea of changing the way an industry thinks and moving forward, like Mark, you were the secret sauce that our industry needed in order to figure out the direction to go in. And so can you just,
unfortunately, I set you up to be the punching bag, right? 'Cause it's
yeah.
been a hard trip because the industry really believes that there is only one way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very fortunate to have an OEM with a visionary human being in it working with us
Yeah.
at this point in time. But I think she may be a data set of one at this moment.
Maybe,
And we need we
maybe not.
need we need to get more people on board because in my experience, look, I've been through construction products, I've been through energy, I've been through aerospace, and it's the same pattern on how to get things to scale,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and it's always a movement. It's never it is a movement because it starts with just a few visionaries finally getting the language together so some early adopters can look at it and say, you know what, I can see myself there. I
Yeah.
can see a better version of me in my business if I could get there. And it takes a whole lot of work on how do we get the behavior change, which means there's a whole lot of information exchange that has to happen at the individual human level
Mhm.
so that they can say, oh, if I would have done it this way, I could have done it better than what happened when I did it. I'm going to
You
try
say
this way
that
now.
you say that so cavalier, like that's such an easy thing to do. That has been
Oh,
the
it's
biggest
awful. Well,
push.
but how many that's why there's only so many pro tennis players or pro athletes or pro musicians. I mean,
Mhm.
to read and work and craft yourself to be that good takes a huge amount of effort.
Yeah.
And the best we can do is make the effort fun, right? By giving better approaches or better tools to get there.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the goal.
Agreed.
But we are surrounded by larger companies that are either publicly traded or have lenders, and the market's been hard on them. And taking leaps of faith that are difficult, and they're used to incremental change, or the change that they create is in the design of the product. It's never in the experience of the product.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say the experience is the engineering perfection of the product, but it's not. It's really the delivery of that engineering perspective or perfection into an environment where whoever's enjoying that engineered product is also getting cheered on by a community of people who are sharing with them, starting with whoever it is you buy it from and helps you service it.
Yeah.
And as soon as they take that experience away by being angry, non-attentive, confused, it doesn't matter how beautiful the product is,
Yeah.
right?
So so
So
you
Oh, it's so well
mentioned
said. That sums it
uh
up.
All right,
That's
well, we'll
good,
just
Mark.
wrap it up now. That was an easy 20
Yeah,
minutes.
edit.
No, so I want to bring back to like you mentioned that, yeah, there are stakeholders, manufacturers, vendors in this space that, and in all spaces and in all industries, where when stuff gets hard, you tighten your belt, right? So like right now is a hard time in any market to say now's the time you need to invest tremendously. So I think of like if we were right now going through the 2008 financial crisis in the motorcycle industry, which obviously we did as an industry, it was really tough. A lot of stores closed. We're seeing very similar trends right now. And we were just talking about this with Justin, how he ended up getting a bunch of inexpensive Vespas recently because like it's happening. And so we're from like a dealer operation standpoint, we're in the same spot. And back then, manufacturers weren't going or vendors or nobody was going, okay, the solution is to think very creatively and invest in the future. Like people were just thinking like batten down the hatches. Like that's it. We're going to make it through this, but we're going to do it by cutting everything. And so we're in this really interesting moment in time where normally you would say things are tough, let's make it through it and then we'll grow on the other end. And right now I feel like with AI, every industry right now, and there are skeptics still, which is surprising to me that there are still skeptics of AI and its impact and what it's going to do. But I mean, yes, Justin is one of those. I get that. but but I also recognize that like every company isn't they're all at least investigating it. They're all like looking into it, like, okay, what can this actually do? How can we actually put it into place? And so I paint that entire picture because I want you to let me know, like, of the aerospace industry you turned around, of the trucking industry that you worked in, like all these other things, if AI was in I still even consider like the infancy of like what it's capable of. Every 2 weeks, it's a totally different thing. Um, if AI was available for those industries in the moment they needed this shift to be done, what would it look like? What would the behavior change look like? What would the process change look like? Like, would it have changed the experiences that you had in changing
Oh
industries?
yeah. Yeah. In fact, I kind of rue the day that we were in the built parts for land-based turbines and or we were in that chain. And look what the demand for land-based turbines is today. And if we had had these systems, there are so many things we could have done to string together faster turn, better information, longer life. I mean, the benefits are of any of these industries that where we can get the information, collaborate around it in the right way, and come up with a better vision, a better version of the industry, and do it with the idea that we might not have enough cash to just come up and buy the change. So therefore, that roadmap, like you put together with the dealers, of what do we do first in order to free cash up so that we have cash to reinvest so that we are moving forward and we monitor it on a like a 13-week cash flow or whatever. But the idea is that AI gives you deeper insight into what are those things that we should be doing that frees up cash for us so that we can invest in the vision that we've created for ourselves. But the two stumbling blocks are strategy. So you got to stand back and say, what can we really do? What could we really be? And give me the data to prove that. And the second one is, what's the tactics? What are the tactical plans, and how disciplined can we be? Will we have to be, and can we be in order to execute? And that's where most industries, and I'll speak to, for instance, a lot of service industries, whether it be legal, engineering. I mean, they because they sell hours, they believe that anything else other than selling hours is a distraction. But if you help them rebuild the business model and get a better vision, you find out that there are other things they should be doing that give them recurring revenue as part of their business model. And then they can continue to improve their productivity at the hours level, which is the core of the business. But they can open up the door to do more innovative things to give their customers a better version of themselves. And they can end up, instead of just building things, they can end up helping people to avoid expenses or to maintain things. And that's just in those industries, that's a huge value creation. But tell it to them, help them see it. It's um, because they're stuck in that paradigm, they can't get there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, and to some degree, that's what we're experiencing, is that we can get people enthused about the vision, but then they go back to the environment that they work and the paradigm of the others around them creates so much friction that they can't do the breakout. And then they say, well, we don't have the money anyway. But we would have said, no, if you let us come and work through this from start to finish, like an Inkwell process, you'll see that not only is the vision more valuable for you, but the path to get there, it keeps reducing your cost of
Yeah.
operating or improving your margin somehow. And instead of taking that cash and going out and buying something that is outside of the value creation of the business, keep reinvesting it in the business.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
There's this like
eventually,
flywheel we can
we,
create. Yeah.
right. And now instead of a shop, you have an enterprise.
Yep. Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's interesting. You do mention this, like, there's the vision component. There's this collective vision where, okay, let's all see where we're going. And then there's the strategy of like beginning to implement the vision. And those are two different components. How do you see that? Like, is there an order of operations of those? Is it, we have to sit down and imagine the vision. And then as we make the plan, there are reality checks of the vision to say, okay, we can't deliver this at scale yet. But if we know that this is the future and we know this is where we are right now, the plan is, how do we slowly implement these individual, for lack of better words, applications that improve the process until we ultimately have replicated this vision into what we're actually doing. But we do it in this scalable, measurable way. Is that how
And
you've done it
and and
before AI? Is that how it
absolutely,
works?
absolutely. What if the industry couldn't come up with a vision that was a real value improvement,
Mhm.
then the best we could hope for was to implement processes to drive costs down. So we had to go the better, faster, cheaper route as
Yep.
opposed to being different.
Yep.
And better, faster, cheaper is great because that means that private equity will buy you because all they want to do is incremental changes anyway, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they don't want to take any big risks. They they have pressure not to take big risks.
Yeah.
But the privately held companies that can create a better version of themselves then become the acquirer.
Hmm.
They become the growth engine. And so I just see it as a bifurcated world, better, faster, cheaper, or different. And different means you got to have people that come to the table with their best thinking already done. They've got to have high energy. They got to be really capable as human beings and as most of the time technologists. And I don't just mean computer technology or engineering technology. I mean human behavior technology, strategy technology. And when you get those groups of people together, they can redefine a market, and that's when we get That's when we get scale. That's when we get enterprise value, and that's when we get intergenerational opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's bringing the people that can see together and recognize then what are the technologies we have to be great at to make this work. Well, that's why I was so excited about the last couple of podcasts, in particular your I don't know if I can say the names because I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but I'm just hoping that we found a partner that sees that there's a dealership of the future,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they've got the people there that can bring the energy to pull it together, because it's
Yeah.
it's the kinetic energy of everybody working together that ends up at the end of the day. All we can bring all the tools, we can bring all the techniques, we can bring a pattern, but without that energy and tenacity, they won't, it'll go back to what they know. And that's just, it gets to the hamster wheel versus the flywheel.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
Mark, do you have any examples of, the better, faster, cheaper versus different winning and doing it the right way, where, as you said, they become the acquirer, they become the machine?
Yeah. And I don't have, we make a habit of never referring to customers. And if somebody doesn't believe we can do it, they say, well, I need to have a reference or two. We usually would say, we would never ask somebody to talk to you about the deep things we're going to be dealing with. So we're not going to let you talk to somebody else. So I'm going to talk only in terms of industries. But in the building products industries, there were a number of competitors in a particular line of uh, windows and doors, and we ended up working with one of those companies. And what they were able to do is become much more aware of the markets where people thought that they were the thought leaders. And so we created a thought leadership process for that, and they now own that particular market. And they're interesting enough that the facilities and neighborhoods around some of these buildings where their particular product was most valuable also had another unique need, which meant that we needed to come up with a new technology to improve the way that this particular products or the windows and doors would work and operate. And they were able to do that. And they were going to go public because they didn't know what the next best thing was to create value for the family. And now what they've got is an enterprise that is so valuable that there's no reason to take the headaches of going public. And again, it just followed that same process. Who are your most loyal customers? How are
Yep.
you giving them a better version of themselves? What more could we do? Let's back into everything we do internally that causes our loyal customers not to have that experience. And where do we apply technology? Let's look at the data of everything we're doing. What are we doing well, not well? Let's prioritize, let's build the tactical plan. But our strategy is, our vision is, and let's make sure that everybody's on board with that. Well, you don't get everybody, but you got to get a guiding coalition together, and it works. Now, on the other side, I've worked with companies that they just can't see themselves being any different than what they are, and a lot of the engineering firms have this problem.
Yeah.
They are trained to identify a problem and solve a problem. They're not trained to identify a new environment which they could create, because that's not a problem. They are
Yeah.
creating a problem when they do that.
Yeah, that's a great
And
point.
so the best they can do is become efficient.
You know what this has made me think of? I last week I was did a whole like entrepreneur week thing that's going on in town, and so much of the conversation every time you're talking about new products or changes to environments or any of that stuff, you talk about product market fit. You talk about, okay, the most important thing is understanding the customer and the customer experience in order to identify the thing that you're creating and if it's going to succeed and how to bring it to market and everything else. Like that is well understood within entrepreneurial circles and just in general. Like if you're going to build a thing for the first time, you're going to produce a application or a new product or a new food or whatever, you're going to interview customers and you're going to understand what they love about it and what they don't love about it, and you're going to change it, and you're going to tweak it, and you're going to make that thing perfect for the customer, and then you're going to launch it. And what is interesting about our industry, and maybe not just our industry, all industries, is that don't you think you have to go back again at some point and talk to the customer again? Like, doesn't there need to be a consistent review of product market fit? Because if you, and I think about this obviously as dealerships, yes, the vehicles are incredible. and we have honed them and made them better and all those things, and we've listened to the customer of the consumer of the finished product and say, okay, I want this motorcycle to have this and this and this, and we make it, we add it, we make it better. But when is the last time we talked to the customer about the experience of ownership or the experience of purchasing or servicing and saying, okay, what does it look like to be better? And then we go back to the drawing board and say, product market fit is not something that you think of 30 years ago when the dealership model started. It's something you have to always consider and improve upon because the experience and expectations change with the consumer.
Yeah. And the better you are, I mean, think about it as from products that you guys like to use today. The experience that you're having with it at this moment is the worst experience you want to ever have with it. You want it to continue to be better.
Yeah.
And how do you make it better because every time we give somebody a perfect experience, we've now set the expectation. They are now on a new plateau, and we have to take them to the next plateau because they'll tire of that particular plateau.
Yep. Yeah. My
And
Carvana experience, I don't want to go walk into when I bought my car on Carvana, which I know now I'm just going to wear this out. That's how I make it a write-off. I talk about it on the podcast. But if to go back into a car dealership and have to haggle and negotiate with a sales guy or have to explain, my trade and my terms and get pre-qualified and all that stuff and the headache that goes along with it, I was used to it. I was used to that's how it is. And I didn't like it. And nobody likes going to a car dealership. But I had a phenomenal experience purchasing in a totally different reimagined way. And I don't ever want to go back into a store and have that terrible experience.
Now,
and I think you're right.
What if you had that experience, but you could also go to a really cool place with other people who love family-sized Volvo SUVs, and you could hang out with them?
Today's podcast is brought to you by Chester River Consulting. Now, Chester River is the direct marketing company that we used in the turnaround project and still at the dealer lab. And it is the company that goes through our DMS. It pulls all of our customer data and it communicates with them in life cycles. So that life cycle management component where we're talking to customers in meaningful ways just at the right time that's relevant to them, that takes a lot of work if you're expecting your team to be able to do it. When Chester River contacts our customers on our behalf through messaging that we have designed along with them, they actually contact a third of my customer base every single month. I mentioned that in the podcast and kind of talk about that in more detail as we go through this. But these are the guys who actually do it. If you're interested in talking to them about how they can do it in your store, contact them at sales@fueledbycrc.com. Again, that's sales@fueledbycrc.com. And enjoy the rest of the show.
Sounds like a picnic, man.
Like that's what we're trying to get at.
No, I completely agree. There is a big difference. There's a huge difference between buying a car and buying a.
But the point is that you had a great transactional experience, which is arguably the worst, the only bad experience in a dealership. Obviously, people love the community aspect and they love being around the cool shit and seeing what's new, but let's try to eliminate the thing that lessens that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right, Danny. I think it's really smart for us to always talk about common thread stuff and not specifics, because I think that you would probably get a different answer from like a Lexus buyer who enjoys going to their dealership because you've just never bought a Lexus. Mm-hmm. I struggle with that all the time too, because like my experience gets in front of my projected experience on my own customers, and they're having a different experience than I am.
Yeah.
But the things that cause my staff pain and time cause my customers pain and time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that the experience isn't necessarily the action of shopping. I think the experience is the breaks of, having to trudge through the button clicks. Nobody wants to do the button clicks. That's the
Hmm.
hard part, right? Nobody wants to put their information in. Nobody wants to have the conversations. And all those conversations are based around just antiquated ideas.
Hmm.
The gathering place, the touchy-feely aspect of retail, that ain't going anywhere, man.
Hmm.
That's a pendulum swing. You've got generations that buy stuff online exclusively, and you got the very next generations like, I'm never buying anything online. I don't even have an Instagram. So who knows, man? But the real experience is the adventure side. How do you connect the business side so your cucumbers don't rot out with the people who want to experience all the different things you can do to cucumbers with food? And
Cucumbers on the mind, man.
well, I said
Yeah,
cucumbers earlier, so I'm sticking
yeah,
to it. It was
so we don't
inventory.
so we don't fall into this cucumber truck. Let me
Should
make
have
a
picked
couple
a
of points.
different
What does a
pineapples,
cucumber trap look
different
like?
fruit.
Yeah, how do you
So
trap
I
cucumbers?
You can go to that website. Yeah.
so
Cucumbertrap.com.
what
Don't do
what
it.
we're talking about, or to give it context, what you are describing, Justin, is how do we define? Every dealership probably has its own category that it should define, right? Because you being on the West Coast where you are, probably that client base, probably and what their daily experiences and what they see as adventure might be a little bit different than somebody who is, for instance, out here in Montana.
100%.
Um, so how do we help the dealer define their category, right? How do
You know,
we help them understand who their most loyal customers are, what that sense of adventure is to them, give them clarity on what category they're going to lead in that marketplace, and then work backwards into building the process. And we had one immersion group, and we started that with them. And I think our experience is that some of the guys in that group really took to it.
yeah.
And others, it was just outside of their ability to process. And it's not a takedown on them. It's just, some people are looking at the guitar, some people are musicians, others like me would prefer just to play the stereo,
Yeah.
right?
Some
You
of
But
us
we
have the
still like,
guitars, still only play the stereo.
right, but we still love music, and it's just, and
Yeah.
that's the category. So the
Yeah, that's a
category
great
of
point.
guitar, right?
You know what's
Yeah.
funny,
And
Mark? So this, I mean, to the same point, you mentioned that yes, the customers in Justin's dealership are expecting are looking for an adventure that's different than the Montana dealership. Is looking for an adventure that's probably different than the New Orleans adventure or the Gulfport adventure. But the administrative, for lack of better words, bullshit that goes along with running a dealership is exactly the same across all of those things. And that's where the aha moment of like, not only is the administrative stuff that's what's taking up all of the bandwidth of your employees, but it's not allowing your employees to give the experience that localized customer wants to have.
Right.
So I was just this morning, I was listening to a really good podcast, was talking about, AI isn't about replacing, or, it can in some cases, but when AI comes in and can begin automating some of the administrative, slow, just the tasks that people don't want to be doing. When it takes that off, it's not that, suddenly it's taking your job. What it's doing is it's allowing the human element, the time that a human has to be what they refer to as cognitive surplus. This additional mental bandwidth that they have now to
it's creativity.
personalize an experience.
Right, and that's where creativity is, right?
Exactly. That's
When
where
when
creativity
you
comes from.
have the time to play in the zone, to
Mhm.
just be there as opposed to getting pulled out because you gotta do the dumb, frustrating
I got to
crap
track
that
a
you
part.
might even wanna procrastinate on, and then
Yep.
it all that's just right.
Also, robot girlfriends. That's a thing that could be soon. Anyway, no, but along those lines, uh, the some of the guys who have dropped out of the Ownex, because it is an intensive
Mhm.
cohort to get in there. There's a lot, right? And we really do lean on you as a genuine general manager of like knowing how the accounting works all the
Yep.
way down.
Yep.
Some of the guys who have dropped out and some of the guys who have stayed in, really what that boils down to, and we've noticed this over some time, is the personality type for those who want to do the back end work. It doesn't mean that their show's any worse, right?
Mhm.
their show is just as good on the front with those dealerships. And it was actually kind of a bummer to lose a couple of them that didn't have what we needed for the financial acumen, but their show wasn't bad. And I think that's the thing, the only thing that excites me about AI and the girlfriend's part. But like it it it's going to free up a lot of like, because it doesn't matter what personality you potentially have in a business. We're trying to have your head guy be too many things, head person be too many things.
Mm-hmm.
You find people that are good at, accounting may not be good at show. Find people good at show may not be good at accounting. Well, all you really need to be good at is customer experience. If you're
Mm-hmm.
good at customer experience, the computer can do the rest of the stuff that you're
Yeah.
not good at, and that's okay.
Yep.
And Justin, it's not necessarily the computer anymore. It might be your glass. It might be how you get it into the system, whether it be a pen or a.
Or
Okay, I
watch
just wanted.
list.
I just
Here
wanted
we
to. I
go.
just thought.
No,
I
you're right. Maybe like some sort of an implant. So the story that I heard about how you and Max met was you were walking across the field, Max from the cabin, you from the house. He saw your ponytail, you saw his Apple Watch, and then you did one of those, like
But he
I think
didn't
it was
have an Apple
Rocky,
Watch at the time. At the time,
like
he had one of
Rocky
those
3.
1960s Casio
I
watches.
Yeah,
did.
the
Right. No,
He,
calculator.
he
that's what it
remembers the
was.
watch I was
Right.
wearing.
Right. And then Max said, "You son of a bitch,
That's
I'm
my
in." And then
yeah.
that was it. And then Ownex was born.
That's it. Now I keep adding more things, more watches.
You know what's
Speaking,
weird? Now he has two Apple Watches, but one Apple Watch, the face is a projection of that original Casio watch, and he tears up every time he looks at it. And
It's
I
not
just
an Apple
wonder,
Watch. It's a Whoop. Anyway, we'll get into
what
that.
the hell is what's a Whoop?
A
whoop,
Whoop
whoop.
is a health tracker. Look, I'm getting all
Oh,
sorts of nerdy stuff because I want to try
That's
everything
cool.
and see what works
yeah,
and what doesn't. And so yeah,
fair enough.
I'm testing that out. Somebody's
I
got
think
to.
there's been a lot of talk about our immersion and cohorts and building roadmaps. I think it is worth saying so that we're clear is that all of the research that we did after the Inkwell meeting, we were doing that research for us, for the people that were in the meeting, and we realized that that research, the way we structured it, was actually really valuable to dealers and manufacturers, and that's what we offer. We offer that research to dealers for manufacturers, and we go into dealerships and do a deep dive, a delve, if you will, and provide a roadmap and a full analysis of the dealership, A to B to
Yeah.
Z, and and yeah,
Literally
and
all
then
the
if
customer
you know,
And
transactions
then
and
you've
history and
created. I mean, because you've created that roadmap, we have a way of continually delivering new approaches to overcoming the barriers that prevent the roadmap from becoming reality. And it's different. I mean, and so when I look at this from the outside, you kind of look at how industries operate. And I think there's one thing about the um, years ago, I was with ADP had a company called Dealer Services, and I had a role there. And I got to see these dealers come together in their groups. And you guys do the same thing, right? Groups of folks get together on a quarterly basis and share their experience running the dealership. What we learned, what I observed when I was at ADP was that those groups did not cause people to think differently. They rather created groupthink.
Mm.
And what we're offering is a way to think differently. And that's, I think, been one of the challenges that we've had is that we've got to find those folks that see the value of thinking differently and are willing to get out of the old processes because they're comfortable and known. But once things begin to change, like, we were talking about Lexus dealers, and I happened to have driven a Lexus for a while, and that was a great relationship with the dealership, right? They had invested heavily in making that time that I had to sit there or give me a car so I didn't have to sit there. They knew who I was when I drove in, right? It was as well done as could possibly be done. And those guys in this particular dealership did not participate in industry processes, the traditional ones, they had a different kind of group that they went to. And the group was all about, if you don't bring a good new idea to this so we can all learn from each other, it means that the group has run its course and we're going to disband.
Wow.
And I think it's still going on.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
cool.
think, we have, we need to get, we are forming the guiding coalition. We are finding the folks that can share the vision that we have and add to it because they're highly collaborative. We're finding the folks that have the talent necessary to achieve a new reality. And we have now the capability of building the tools. So it's almost like, to use I think a beat up word, to gamify, as opposed to punish people by giving them a DMS. We can gamify it by giving them tools, and we have a unique capacity to build those tools rapidly, and that is the new world,
Yeah, it is.
right?
And when you say it's the new world, like it's the new world as of like a few
Three
months
weeks
ago.
ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it is insane. We're not talking about, when I still talk to people now who I go, yeah, I'm like our company is doing a lot of work with AI right now. Like we are doing a lot of research. We're building things.
Well, I
We
would
are,
tell you we are on the bleeding edge because I'm
yeah,
involved with other companies, as you know, and some of those companies are really on the leading edge.
yeah.
What we've done is on the leading edge, but it's practical because it keeps delivering
hmm
solutions that can execute.
I mean, and it means like it means we are constantly creating new stuff and trying it and testing it and seeing, oh, this could work in this way. Oh, this could work like this. And I bring that up because when I talk to people about AI, they they imagine that I'm talking to a chatbot on ChatGPT. They're like, that's it. Like I'm just
That
asking a
was
question,
yesterday.
right?
That's 4 weeks ago.
That is so
Right.
2000 and late. I just had to use
And
that
we're
quote.
we're doing that. We're doing that one where it automatically sends a text message from the website. Is that the one? That's the AI we're doing?
Yeah, and so that here's where Justin is not the AI guy apparently.
Right.
No, but I mean the things that the bleeding edge of AI is changing all the time, but this is where it finally has turned into something really, really exciting. When we did the turnaround, for example, the turnaround took place less than 6 months ago. Like we finished it less than 6 months ago. And we were using absolutely cutting edge information then. And we were vibe coding. And vibe coding at the time allowed us to create some of these incredible tools and widgets that allowed us to double the front end margin of our major unit sales, right? Deal Builder is now, which is about to become, by the time people listen to this, it will hopefully be commercially available. You can go to the Ownex platform and you can sign up for Deal Builder and use the exact tool that now we've built to scale. That tool enables a customer to be able to receive a unique URL on their phone. They click on that. They can see a personalized video from the salesperson. They can see all the details of their sale. They can change their down payment and monthly payment on sliders. It's like the theory and concept behind a Foursquare, but not cheesy, like modern, like it feels good, and it drove more sales, considerably more sales, and doubled our front end margin. That was using AI in its most cutting edge form in that moment to say, guys, we have a collective idea. Let's design the idea, build the idea, deploy the idea, and then iterate that idea in a couple of days. Like we built that entire thing in a few days and launched it. And then 3 months, 4 months through, we had built 300 active quotes that customers were using and trying out. And that allowed us to iterate the next thing. That is so, I mean, that is still useful information and that is still stuff that we will use, but that is old news. Vibe coding is so old news now that now it is, how do you use local AI, local LLMs that you're building on your own? How do you use um, agents of AI, like multiple agents to handle multiple tasks and share that information? And so it is so complicated to know and learn this. You can only do it by constantly playing with it. and like constantly being creative. And that is what's really fun, is that we have been constantly creative. And I think it's a pillar of what our business really is. It's like the only way you're going to create an experience that's delightful for the customer is if you create an experience that is delightful for the employee of the dealership. And just like Justin said, like if my employees hate their day, my customer is going to hate interacting with that employee. So if we can create experiences that are delightful to do your job, and we take all the painful bullshit off of it, and we give that to a team of AI agents that take care of it for you, then like everything becomes delightful.
Right. And the individual dealer, because the individual dealer can't afford the time or effort to do that, because that would
I
be one
completely
more
agree.
distraction. But if they can be in a group where they have a clear line of sight on what category they're going to lead in their marketplace, and they're interacting with other people that have that same clear line of sight, and we're able to continue to provide insight and then the tools based on that insight, they will be part of the movement, and that will create the kind of difference. Instead of being better, faster, cheaper, the difference where people will have the ability to reinvest in their dealerships. And I
Yeah.
mean, we have a roadmap of helping them reduce cost and helping them improve volume and creating a experience for the employee that unlocks their imaginations,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can all learn together, right?
Yeah. This made me think of, you are absolutely right that a dealer doesn't have the time right now, and the the cognitive surplus, or they don't have the cash flow, or they don't see it as important to invest 8 hours of your day trying to learn this new emerging technology and try it out and think about how it could work and share ideas. And you just don't have the time to do it. And I can say that personally because like when we were doing the turnaround, and like Justin, you've stepped back into your store, like you get so inundated with the swirl of the daily tasks that yes, that there are options to build your own website. We just talked about this. You build your own website. I can make it simple. I can make it fast. I just don't have the time to like invest in which platform do I use and how do I start to use Claude Code or how do I, and so to be able to first off like be a firm, a job, our company for Ownex to be able to be the ones that like we are going to be your creative thinking partner and creatively execute those ideas that you have that are your ideas and your concepts of what the future looks like. We're going to help you build that thing because we agree with that vision of the future.
And
So,
and you're going to join a group of other folks that are doing it so that you guys get the rehearsal and the support to do the behavior change side inside the dealership. You're not just going to go and sit around and talk about here's the collective industry data, what does it mean to us? You're
yeah,
going to say, you're going to talk about here's what my customers tell me, this is what I understand. How are you guys doing a better job of making those customers delighted? And then they can turn to us and say, Max, it sounds like we have a stumbling block here. Put your thinking cap on. Next meeting, come back with an idea that don't cost us a bunch of money. Give
mhm.
us something that pays for itself rapidly.
What's funny is you don't have
And
to just
that's the
say,
kind of relationship.
it's not just come back with an idea because of AI and vibe coding. Like I don't need
You
to
come back with a
convince you that
product.
I can build you a working prototype of that idea so that we can play with it together. We can iterate together. I think that's huge. I have not yet met, actually, correction. I know of one dealership group that is thinking like this right now. It is a marine dealership group up in Canada. Danny, we ran into him at the powersports business meeting. He is the only other guy that I have come across that we could geek out at the same level about your building with vibe code. He's using Google Scripts for a lot of his stuff, but he's vibe coding new F&I tools, new service dispatch tools, new things that are going to be specifically for his group, which of course, like he's creating a moat around his dealership group. Perfect. He's going to create an experience that is far better than any other marine dealer in Canada. And it's because he has the cognitive surplus to be able to play and focus on building this new vision. He doesn't just go, wouldn't it be cool if he goes, What if I can build that thing right now? And he builds it and they deploy it, and they are going to surpass everyone else.
Right. So
If
I want to
you,
make a comment
yeah,
because
go.
I've had an experience like that where I owned a manufacturer and the manufacturer had a distribution. And what we found out was if we made the distribution better and the experience different, we started to run the other manufacturers out of the marketplace because we were taking time out of our customers' day
Mhm.
and we were delivering because we could see the data. We were delivering new products that were, like the plastic paint can kind of thing. It was just different,
Mhm.
and it made their world better, right? And so what strikes me is that none of the manufacturers in this industry see the value of helping to lead that kind of direction by building the dealership of the
I wouldn't say
future.
none. I think there are
Well, we hope
ones who
we're
see the
one.
value. It's the ones who need to. It's who's going to be the first, who's first mover, right? Because
But the leverage, yeah, and the leverage that first mover gets is stunning because again, I never wanted to be out of this business, but one of the larger conglomerates thought it was worth so much more than I thought. When they said the number, I was like, let me do some math here. I'd have to run this business at this growth rate for 50 years to get to that number. So I think I'll take that number today.
yeah,
Um, it's just crazy. Oh, sorry about that.
you're good. So as you do that, I want to mention. I feel like this one Marine group who I want to have on the podcast. I'm hoping I can get him on. I'll shoot him a message, see if we can get him on soon. They're going to differentiate themselves. And fortunately, they are a manufacturer as well. They manufacture boats and they sell boats. And so they already have a pretty nice system
So they're
going.
the package. Yeah,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
no, the whole
perfect for
package,
them.
and they're creating an experience around the package that is phenomenal. I mean, it keeps customers into that loyal segment, that loyal product. But anyway, there will be, if there aren't already, at least ones that I have not seen, but there are probably going to be dealerships individually as agents become easier, as Claude Code just launched. I don't know if you've used Claude Cowork yet, but Claude Cowork just this morning launched a new product, or a new update where you can now utilize Claude Code from your phone to run things on your computer, or Claude Cowork, which can also do code. Anyway, so Justin, I know you have no idea what I'm talking about because you haven't done that yet. Don't worry, you'll be there. Um, as this becomes simpler and
Like the
simpler,
name Claude. Fun.
as this
Claude.
becomes simpler
Oh,
and simpler,
Danny.
dealers
Aggressive.
are dealers are eventually going to start doing it, right? And they're going to start building these experiential moats. Like they're going to start building this experience that's far better than other dealerships and other brands, and so I see it as right now, if you are a manufacturer or if you are a dealer and with competition around you, you are either going to recognize that this is something you need to figure out and lean into, or start researching, or meet about, or call us and we'll talk to you about it. It's either going to be something that you usher in or something that will happen to you. And I don't think that
I think,
there's no one who right now wants AI to do something to them. I don't think that's like, Justin, I mean, maybe
well,
you might be an exception. We talk back about cucumbers, but um, what we don't want to have happen is become, victim is the wrong word, but like have this change happen around you as a manufacturer, as a supplier, as a vendor, as a dealer. I don't want to be on my back foot when everything around me starts changing. I want to be the one that's driving the change, so that we
and
can basically
and it
shape what the
has
change is.
and it will happen as an industry.
Mhm.
And the best way for an individual participant in the industry to be part of it is to be with a group that's really progressive and working its way forward.
Yeah.
So that can either be because you have a manufacturer that's helping you with it, and I understand the tension between manufacturers and dealers, but done right, the manufacturer can help create the dealership of the future.
Well,
or it can be through a small trade group of individuals that are vetted, and you're not going to get to join the trade group if you're not energetic and capable.
mhm.
If you're just going to show up because it's a party, that got
I like
this
showing up at the
party
parties
is going
too.
to take effort.
Well, so
Yeah, that's fine. But it's going to take effort first. It can't
yeah,
just be,
yep,
you're not going to be able to bullshit your way through the day session and go out and just enjoy the social. You're going to have to get in the day session. You're going to come to conclusions around what you got to do when you go back to work.
yeah, yeah.
And it's got to hold each other accountable
You
to
mentioned
doing that.
tension between the manufacturer and the dealer, and I think that yes, that could create a barrier to evolution. But I'm more concerned about the barrier to evolution being the tension or lack of camaraderie, whatever you want to call it, between manufacturer and manufacturer. Like there is a concern that we just had Hattiesburg Cycles on the podcast, right? They have 15 manufacturers. They have 15 brands in their store. That is unbelievable that you can manage the warranty claims of 15 different brands. When you have that many different brands and one manufacturer creates this incredible experience to ultimately have a moat around their brand, but that dealership sells 15 different ones, then it's not that dealership can't deliver the experience that you're designing and building into it. It has to
Well,
be
I,
about
I think
experiences around the whole thing.
Well, but I think at
I
that
think
point,
that
they're
it's
going to be,
yeah, I
Danny,
was
go
gonna say
ahead, Danny.
that manufacturers I think have attempted that, but it's impossible in a multi-line store. Like they can do all they want to make the experience better for their brand, but guess what? All the customers are going back to the same service department.
Yep.
You know, that
Yep.
manufacturer doesn't have their own employees, doesn't have a separate service department, doesn't have a separate parts department. So it's impossible to make that change to build that moat around their one brand in a store.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless you
and as
build
I
flagship.
listen,
You can build a flagship,
well,
right? A single line, build a moat. The moat can be around the line. But in existing dealer models, there has to be this cohesive dealership profitability focus, dealership success focus. And if you are the manufacturer that creates the dealership success, you might be one of multiple manufacturers in that space. But like as long as that dealership is evolving and improving, then you will be more successful as a brand, as a manufacturer. And I'm sure that the delivery, there are unique things that we can deliver that are specific to a particular brand, but it's got to be an experience that can be delivered across the entire store, not just if you bought this vehicle from us, we treat you better than if you bought this vehicle from us.
well, I think in those because I was listening to that podcast, and my first thought was, man, I'd love to do a or a manufacturer profitability analysis inside that store. And I bet you that if
Mhm.
we took the bottom 20% of those manufacturers out, that the top 20% would probably end up selling more in that store, and that store would be that much more
Yeah.
valuable.
We did a brand profitability analysis, and we do it with all the Delves, but we did that here at Moto Julia, and it's pretty surprising. You know, if you're not just looking at what's the front end profit or what's the holdback I get paid out quarterly, and you look at what is the service retention rates, what's the
Yeah,
service
you got to go through the whole
profitability.
life cycle.
Yeah, yeah. How many of my jobs are diagnostic jobs that I'm not getting paid fully on? Like that, you have to look at the entire picture of a brand's value that goes into the store. And what's funny is I don't see like I honestly have never seen that before. Before we started studying it that way, and like recognizing, oh, this brand actually doesn't build more value for us, and all it does is distract from the other stores. So I agree that when I heard 15 stores, it was kind of a jaw dropping. Like, how in the
15
hell can you
brands.
give an experience like that?
I'll tell
Brands.
you for contention, I know this is full circle. We're talking about everything at this, but mine is dealership to their customer. I think that's the most important thing in my
Oh,
head
the
is
tension. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because you got OEM to OEM, you got OEM or manufacturer to manufacturer, you got manufacturer to dealership for sure. But how many of our stores unintentionally or even unbeknownst to the owners or general managers have contention between the staff and the customer? Because every customer who walks through the door creates a problem for the staff because we're understaffed or under technology depending on, right? Because the understaffed thing is one of those things it's not going to necessarily go away because nobody when we dropped our staff sizes, you know, the reason that they didn't grow back wasn't because of this, you know, everybody's making so much profit that they're not going to hire more people because they want to keep the money like it does in other industries. That's not the case. Our staff went down, our profit followed, right? And now we can't afford to hire more staff because it's an investment and without a promise that it's going to actually sell more stuff, right? So a lot of our staffs have stayed down. Well, now whenever a customer comes in and they look on the wall and they say, "Hey, you have a helmet. Want a different size and a different color." Dude, you'd be really disturbed to know how many times people are like, "Oh, you just get online and order that bad boy," because the alternative is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm not justifying that, but the contention that creates between our staff and our customers, I think is the is putting the key in the lock of the door that is the OEM to the dealer that is enters the room that is the manufacturer to the manufacturer.
Well,
Dude,
and
you know what's
that's sad. That's sad, and it's almost like a why is nobody talking about how much easier it is for the customer to buy something than it is for the staff to buy something?
for the staff to
Right,
sell
Like,
something?
right.
Yeah, for
To
sure.
sell
yeah.
Yeah.
something, yeah,
Well, no,
yeah,
I mean, think about it, Justin. You're right. Like, your helmet is offered through three different distributors, and you have to go check costs, see which one is the better price. You have to find the you know, what warehouse it's in to make sure that it's going to get here in time for the customer. Then you got to take a deposit. What happens if the customer changes their mind and wants a different one? You got to refund that deposit. You know, it's so
right.
many
Well,
things,
you got
so
to build
many.
a you got to build a PO. You got to
Yeah.
wait for
Yeah.
it to show up. You got to track it. You got to track your
So,
POs to make sure it did show up. And then when it shows up, you
so
have to receive the PO, put it in inventory, make the phone call to tell them that it showed up, put it in a special place in the dealership so other people can find it just in case you're sick that day or on lunch. I mean, dude,
so
it's crazy.
I was trying to see if
so
I could order
Justin,
a helmet in the time before you got finished describing how to.
Just
yeah.
describing.
So
Yeah.
No, you literally could. You
Yeah.
literally could have one on its way.
so
And
this is,
yeah,
but wait a minute, time out. This is where the agents that we're building
Yeah.
multiply the number of people in the store
Yes.
and for the human that's in the store make it more fun.
Yeah.
So and then we won't get into how this could be solved, but this is not a problem that's difficult to solve.
No.
yeah.
I mean, if
We're
we can
building
turn an
anything.
agent
Like, I'm
into
looking
doing
at
into
the computer right now, the one
uh,
that's doing
get
it
it.
right now.
And I
Yeah.
and I will say, Mark, it's funny because Mark is the most AI friendly person that I've ever met, and I am probably the least AI friendly person. And it is really good because like in our meeting,
But
but
also, look
I
at the
will say
backgrounds of
this.
your. It's like very like yin yang going on.
Yes, we are. Yes, he's the evil one. But the here's what I will say. The reason I still mess with you guys. And the reason that I'm still in these meetings is because the conversation is never how can we eliminate staff.
Mm-hmm.
The question is how can we support staff to make their experience equal their pay level that's potential and get them more money if you make more money as well. So I'm like super pro human. I don't know if you guys knew this. I know it's not popular in this room, but the agents like Agent Smith, the one that you've made replicate, and then taught Kung Fu for some reason, and all the weird women that work in that one computer that all have names from the Mambo number 5. Uh,
The
they
Vega team.
they all can they all can do what we're talking about. So my apparel guy can just be excited that a customer
Mm-hmm.
walks through the door and show them all the cool options and be like, oh man, well, they do this really cool graphic. We'd have to order it, no problem. You want to order it? Agent Smith, order helmet. And then I assume it goes boop, and then there's like two things and electricity goes yip, 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 and then some whirling sounds that I don't know. And then a helmet shows up. Sweet, dude.
Yeah,
Sweet. I'm in.
that's
Apparently that's AI. That's what AI is,
that is.
right?
It's got the Frankenstein style electrical thing that.
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah,
what I was
yeah, yeah.
thinking. Whenever Max and I went on that
That's what it.
Frankenstein
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah, exactly. So
All
you.
right, you guys have been fun to hang out with. I'm gonna have to scoot.
Oh
Um,
no, that's
so
lame.
Wait a
I
sec, real quick,
apologize.
Mark, before you go, did you cut off the ponytail or do you still have it? We've
Not
been
yet.
trying to look around your video.
Yeah, no, it's still there. I have not had the,
Would you,
this is not a decision I can make on my
I,
own.
I know, but to like, archive this moment, could you look to your right more? Yo.
There it is.
Okay.
There it is.
Just want to make
That
sure.
plays,
There it is.
I want you to know how well that plays in the bank boardrooms.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
love it,
does.
dude. Plays
It
good
is
in our
hippie.
boardroom too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else we should do before we wrap up? And again, I apologize, but I've got a hard stop.
No, no, I think that's great. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you said hard
We
stop too,
appreciate.
because we can make fun of you for that forever now.
Yeah, we're gonna to after this. We're gonna. Yeah. But it
Well,
was good. It
it's
was good
always
getting to
pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys between the high energy and the punches. It's really fun.
good.
They're always
Good.
light punches.
They're
All right,
light
Mark,
punches.
that was
All right,
awesome.
peace.
What a great episode. And yeah, I guess we'll see you in another meeting in, I don't know, an hour
Tomorrow.
Or so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So may the force be with you.
Hey.
A Yodaism. Yay. All right.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.